June is coming up fast, and you know what that means. A bunch of brand new games are coming out. We sifted through it, brought you the ones that are probably gonna garner the most discussion for the month. And let's talk about them. Hi noobs, it's Noob. Today on Game Ranks, the top 10 new games of June 2023, starting off with number 10. It's Amnesia, the bunker. Now we now have the benefit of a demo. I don't know if you've played it, but the idea is, it's an Amnesia game, so you have some preconceived notions automatically. That is set in a World War I bunker, with a bunch of scary stuff in it that you don't know anything about. Because it's super dark and you can't see it is. I don't know if you played this demo, but it ain't gonna leave you with happy dreams. It is a scary demo. It does do a great job, as far as I'm concerned. Continuing the Amnesia series, you do have a gun, but I don't know exactly how useful it's gonna be, especially after using it for a while. There's not a lot of ammo, and when I say not a lot, I mean like near none. So if anything, it almost makes it worse, because if you remember in the other Amnesia games, you don't have a gun, and you never kinda think, ah well, you know, if worse came to worse, at least I've got a gun here. Now you have incredibly scarce ammo layered into that, so you've got the stress of almost being empty in terms of bullets at all times. On top of all of the normal Amnesia stuff, the environment is really well designed. It's gonna give you the heebie-jeebies. You gotta keep it lit using a generator. It's all really enjoyable stuff. Think Amnesia combined with Alien Isolation, and I think you got a pretty good idea what you're getting into. I'm sure there's more involved, but I love the demo. It bodes very well for the full game, which is coming out on the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC on June 6th. And number 9 is F1 23, 3 games into EA's Codemasters purchase last game. F1 22 did get a little bit of criticism for its physics, and supposedly, that's what they're primarily working on fixing here. I obviously have not played the game. Supposedly, it's been tightened up quite a bit, and you sort of have a better idea as to what's going on at any given time. They've also optimized it for the controller a little bit more, so that you're not getting as many violent moves. I don't know if you've played a racing game with a controller that isn't really paying a whole lot of attention to the fact that there might be people playing it on controller. F1 22 was definitely one of those games. Had somewhat seemed like wild moves sometimes. This is apparently the stuff that has been addressed in terms of quality of life. They've also added some new features and created a much longer race, which is actually 35% of an actual, legitimate Grand Prix. So pretty long race. It looks beautiful, as per usual. Some of the stuff that you see in this game is going to shock you, because it looks very real. Is it Gran Turismo 6? No, it is not. I mean, first off, the cars are not ones that you normally see it. I mean, to get away with a little bit more in terms of visuals, that I think stock car racing games do. But even so, this doesn't really compare, in my opinion. That said, it looks quite good. And if they've addressed the issues of last year's game, I can't imagine it being bad. Last year's game wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good. And F1 is going to be landing on the PlayStation and PC. And number 8 is Sonic Origins Plus, which is a big update to Sonic Origins. Unfortunately, not a free one. If you currently own Sonic Origins, it will cost you. However, it does look fairly worth it to me. For one, Sonic Origins is full of issues, and apparently, a large amount of fan complaints have been addressed by developers who actually really weren't happy with the finished product. Stealth of Headcanon, one of the primary developers on the project, was actually able to sort of repair the relationship with Sega and go back and fix a lot of things, as well as add a lot of things. For one, Amy is now playable in all 4 of the original games. Knuckles is playable in Sonic CD, which was something that was not the case before. And perhaps most interestingly of all, Sonic Origins originally was a compilation of those for Genesis Sega CD games. Now it includes 16 Game Gear games, which is a lot of games. I'll also say this, some of the Game Gear games are good. Not all of them, but it actually does kinda make the $9 purchase to upgrade from the original Sonic Origins worth it. Almost kinda feels like a bit of a concession. Like, hey, yeah, we know we kinda messed up first time around on Sonic Origins, but we have to charge for it. Even though they don't. I don't know. I'm not as mad about them doing that as I was about them just kinda screwing some stuff up. I liked Sonic Origins, primarily because it's a good way of playing all those original games, even if it's not necessarily technically perfect. So an upgrade above that, with a bunch of new games to play, a new character in general, as well as Knuckles in Sonic CD. It's all worth it to me. And if you didn't play it before, because it wasn't up to the standards that you might want it to be, it sounds like it probably is now. A lot of quality of life updates, etc. Sonic Origins Plus is landing on every platform. June 23rd at No. 7 is Crash Team Rumble, a 4 vs 4 team-based competition, which is something that I thought was very interesting looking. It's basically a borderline, completely original game, which is not normal anyways, but also particularly not normal when it comes to multiplayer games. I don't want to say completely original. I mean, it's still a Crash platformer in some ways, but we don't really have a lot in terms of competitive platformer games, especially not ones where they're fully competitive, fully arena-oriented, and not like time trial-based, or race-based, or whatever. It's basically a battler, where you collect fruit, and whoever has the most fruit wins, I guess. But all of the characters have a different set of skills you have to defend, as well as get Wumpa fruit. It looks interesting. Now, I don't know how it's gonna come together. If it ends up coming and looks just like something else. I mean, if it's fun, that's it, really doesn't matter. But I've always had kind of a maybe yes, maybe no attitude towards this game. It looks like it could be a ton of fun, but also if they miss the mark, it's gonna be a bomb. My personal hope is that it, of course, is great, because I love the series. I love Crash Bandicoot. I love all of this stuff. So a fun new multiplayer game that feels like something different for once too. I mean, that's something I'm definitely there for. So I will definitely be trying Crash Team Rumble, hopefully wanting to continue playing it when it lands on the Xbox, the PlayStations, on June 20th. And number 6 is Trepang 2. An FPS set way off into the future that really orients itself around bullet dodging and chaotic gameplay. It's in a lot of ways a spiritual successor to Fear. If you've ever played Fear, as soon as you see the footage, you can absolutely draw parallels between. It really looks like Fear. This is a game that's got bullet time and some crazy gory stuff going on, as well as just total chaos. Again, if you've ever played Fear, I really do feel as though you'll know what you're getting into. For this game, it really looks like Fear to me. It obviously does look quite a bit better in terms of graphics, and also, in some ways, it looks maybe a little bit more smoother and polished to me in terms of movement, but that just might be me, and it also just might be the fact that the game looks better. I'm not really sure. I'm looking forward to playing it, and if I'm completely honest, I'm sure a lot of the people who will end up playing this probably aren't people that played Fear, so it may feel like a totally new experience to them. I don't know. It looks cool. I think that it's gonna be a great game. It's something that I'm certainly waiting for, and I really hope they stick the landing, cause it's been a long time since we've had this kind of game. Trepang 2 is coming out on PC June 21st. And number 5 we love Katamari Reroll Plus Royal Reverie, which is a remaster of the PlayStation 2 game from 2005. Perhaps one of the weirdest, I guess. And I use this term questionably, I guess, puzzle game. I don't know if I want to call it that or not. It kind of is. You basically roll a ball around and collect so much crap that it is enough. I don't know. I played Katamari a lot, and I don't understand what's going on in it. It's a very fun game though, and it's been a very long time since Katamari was a thing. So they've not only brought it in as a remaster, but they've also added a new campaign called Royal Reverie, in which you actually play as the king as a kid, which I guess has him as the prince in a previous time period, doing the same thing he's doing. Don't know. It's better not to explain what's going on in Katamari in terms of story and narrative, because bleh, it's insane. I will say this, I'm excited to play it again. It's a fun game. It's a game that hasn't gotten enough attention through the years, although it has gotten a, I guess, fair amount of attention for how bizarre it is. I am sort of directing people at it because it's fun. It is bizarre though. I'm not gonna say it's not. Wheel of Katamari Reroll Plus Royal Reverie's landing on the PlayStation, the Xboxes, PC, and Switch on June 2nd. And number 4 Aliens Dark Descent, a real-time strategy game where you control a squad of colonial marines, space marines, and you move them around a map and battle xenomorphs. It also has a horror element apparently, and it will require you to maintain not only things like health, damage, etc., but you're also going to have to take care of your characters. It's set 20 years after Alien 3 and has a pretty straightforward trying to stop a xenomorph outbreak plot. Honestly, it looks pretty good to me. I don't know if they're gonna tell you anything that you haven't heard about Aliens during the course of its narrative, but it does look like something that's gonna be tremendous fun to play. Has a bit of an XCOM feel to it, and to be frank, Alien/XCOM. Great combination. There is permadeath in this game, actually, so you'll want to be careful. But I mean, even if it was there, of course, it's Aliens. You're kind up against the ultimate killer, so yeah. I'm excited to play this one. Aliens Dark Descent is coming to the PlayStation, Xboxes, and PC June 20th. And number 3 Street Fighter 6. Hard to believe that that's the number title we're at. There's been plenty more Street Fighter games than that, but here we are, actually getting what looks like a fairly innovative retake on this game. So Street Fighter is, of course, some of the best fighting games that have ever been made. Street Fighter V, although it had its controversies at launch, was still a pretty damn fun game. Street Fighter VI is adding a whole bunch of new stuff, something they're calling the drive system, which had 6 unique moves: carry, reversal, rush, impact, and overdrive, which all pretty much state exactly what they are. Pretty much self-evident. You get a new gauge, the drive gauge, which gives you the ability to do all of these moves, and it sounds like this might be an interesting introduction into the Street Fighter arsenal. The overdrive is probably the least self-explanatory of all of them, but it basically replaces the X special moves. I'm thinking of it basically as an X special move that's been integrated into this drive system, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this all mashes together. Street Fighter VI, of course, landing on the PlayStation, the Xboxes, and PC on June 2nd. And number 2 is Diablo IV, which is set after Diablo III's Reaper of Souls expansion. So it's a direct continuation of things that have already had the Diablo universe, rather than some kind of reboot. It does bring the idea of an open world into Diablo, although it doesn't look tremendously different than Diablo 3 to me, despite the fact that the structure of how you might approach the game is likely very different. It's also shared with other players, not necessarily an MMORPG, but you'll be able to play with other people. I don't know if I want to say it's as specific as Dark Souls, but it might look a little bit that way. Except obviously within the context of a completely different type of game. The world is gonna be persistent, so apparently things might change while you're gone. And there is also PvP gameplay, which is apparently, it's obviously not gonna play like The Division, but inspired by the dark zones in The Division. I don't know. It sounds interesting, and it sounds like they're trying a bunch of new things without straying too far from what makes Diablo Diablo. Given this is an open world game, they've added mounts and stuff, which is very interesting. It kinda sounds like the natural progression for what Diablo is in this time. So I think that all in all, if they don't mess it up in any way, it looks like it could be something quite a bit of fun. So we'll see. Obviously this is Blizzard. They can excel it, making people mad with new and exciting ways. So my hope is that they haven't. Still, it's Diablo, which is also a franchise that is not unfamiliar with controversy. I want it to succeed though. Diablo 4 is coming to the PlayStations, Xboxes, and Windows June 6th. And finally, at number 1, this one kinda snuck up on me, cause I love Final Fantasy. It's one of my favorite series, and I'm gonna be upfront, I'm not completely sure about this one. It is obviously a huge release of a series that I'm extremely interested in, so I not only have but want to talk about it. And also, I want to be good too, but it's an action RPG, like a full-blown action RPG, not like a Final Fantasy XVI action RPG or a Final Fantasy VII Remake action RPG. It's a full-as action RPG. And that's not actually the reason that I am a little hesitant on this one. It's that I don't really know what they're going for. I hope this is just problems in marketing, and it ends up being interesting. But it looks, dare I say, a little generic, which is not a word I think I've ever even thought To call a mainline Final Fantasy game for, I mean to address the action RPG element of it. Final Fantasy VII Remake came up with like the perfect Final Fantasy action RPG mechanics. They're tons of fun. Did they need to mess with it further? Did they need to go full action RPG? That's really the question here. But again, I don't really think that's the big question. Final Fantasy games are hardcore, narrative-oriented games, and they really haven't been marketing it based on narrative, so that has me a little hesitant now. It is Final Fantasy, and it has the potential to be mind-blowing and completely reinvent itself and totally subvert any and all expectations. It's done it many times in the past. It is a timed exclusive, being released for the PlayStation 5 on June 22nd, of course. My hopes are always sky high for Final Fantasy, and to kind of be proven wrong on what is a little bit of hesitancy on my part. That's it. See you next video.